Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown here on Grammy Night. And we have a lot of good performances ahead for you with our panel. We'll be talking about stuff like Michigan State. What should happen in the future with them? Similar to Penn State? Should there be a death penalty involved? We'll get into that. Pitt basketball, the future of Kevin Stallings. We'll also get into, of course, the Pirates and what has happened this week. The Penguins, do they need anything else at this point? A third-line center, but the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be LeVeon Bell and the Steelers, who did play today in the Pro Bowl, won by the AFC. Chris Boswell kicked the extra point, in case you care. Here's your panel left to right on your television screen. We have Paul Zeise from the Paul Zeise radio program, 93.7 The Fan, and of course the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. In the middle, it's Chris Mack, pre- and post-game host for the Pirates on 93.7 The Fan, and Colin Dunlap, the anchor of the morning show on 93.7 The Fan. So let's get right into it, gentlemen. LeVeon Bell seemed to be very optimistic, Colin, about that he would be back, and it sounded like a deal was going to happen long term. I haven't heard a thing from the Steelers, but I've been told that everything is still in play. What do you think will happen? What do you think should happen to LeVeon Bell?
I'll tell you what, I thought it was 50-50 until I heard those same comments you did from the Pro Bowl, Bob, and it just sounds like a formality at this point. 40% of the offense goes through him. I think LeVeon Bell, for me, is a liability more off the field than he ever is on it, but I would sign him long term. I think that if you could come to an agreement that's not the exact number he wants, if you could talk him down just a little bit, I don't see a whole lot of harm in signing him long term. You go ahead and you draft and you plug and you play at inside linebacker. You do so in the secondary and Mike Mitchell's spot as well, and you sign Lev Bell long term if you could do it.
I don't think you sign him long term. I think you give him this 1 year thing. You tag him, make it a non-exclusive thing, and if there's some team out there stupid enough to try and sign him and give you 2 first-round picks, then you're better off. I mean, to me, you give this group, I mean, with him, he's got 5 years under his belt. 1 more is 6. That's a lot for a running back if you look statistically. He'll be 27 years old next February. Run him 450 times this year and then say goodbye.
What happens when he's gone, Paul? That's my question. They don't have the next guy. I love James Conner, but he's not the next Lev Bell.
I think that we've seen in the NFL, this isn't the 70s. The sport is not the same. But when you have a team that's built around your quarterback, when you have a team that's built around your passing game like that, you can find
when you say
you can plug running backs in there. And again, look, I'll give you a great example. Who was 2 years ago or whatever it was when Denver won the Super Bowl? Who was their running back?
Right. Here's the thing, though, and you talk about running backs. I look at LeVeon Bell as an athlete, and when you say the sport is not the same, you're absolutely right, and LeVeon Bell is not the same either. And here's why. He could play slot receiver and start for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now at slot receiver. And also, James Conner couldn't get on the field, Paul, for the first 7 or 8 weeks or so for the Steelers because he didn't know the blitz pickups, and he couldn't block well enough to keep Ben Roethlisberger clean. And Ben Roethlisberger's an older quarterback. If you watch LeVeon Bell play, and ask anybody who covers a team or anybody on the team, he puts people on their can in pass protection. And LeVeon Bell, no, I'm not saying.
Is he the only guy that can do that in the league?
He's the only guy on this team that can do that.
You could have
tell me the other guys who are.
You could have a running back by committee like a lot of teams do. You don't have to have one guy that does everything that costs $14 million or $15 million.
Okay. Who's going to be the #2 pass catcher on this team then?
Right. Whenever he's the only guy who can do what he does in the league.
You think he'll get a little better next year? I actually think Martavis Bryant will get a little bit better. You've got the best. It's like look at the Patriots. They find 2 or 3 running backs. They make it work. They had Corey Dillon 1 year. He had 1,600 yards. Most of the time, they've had a couple of guys that do a couple of little things.
They also have the best tight end that's probably ever played in the NFL.
And before they had him, they still had the same situation.
All right, I got to move on.
The Steelers have enough weapons. They shouldn't tie up a lot of money on a 27-year-old running back. They shouldn't.
Chris Mack, I want to ask you about the new offensive coordinator, Randy Fichtner. It seems that if you look and connect the dots here, Ben Roethlisberger last year said he wanted 1 more year. Perhaps he wanted Haley out back then, and they said no. All of a sudden now there's a 3-year commitment. I don't know if the two are committed there, but he seems to be the guy that Ben Roethlisberger wants in there. What do you expect from him? Any changes as an offensive coordinator?
I expect whatever Ben wants, Bob. Whatever Ben wants, that's what this offense is going to do. If they want to call all the running plays by cartoon character names and call all the pass plays by race car names, or whatever Ben wants, That's what they're going to do. That's why Randy Fichtner is the offensive coordinator. That's why Todd Haley is gone. It's as simple as that. If that means Ben Roethlisberger doesn't want to lay down for a quarterback sneak, they won't quarterback sneak, as much as we yelled about it a couple weeks ago or not. Whatever Ben wants, that's what's going to happen for the last couple of years of Ben's career.
Chris is right in that regard, but here's the danger with Ben Roethlisberger is there's no scapegoat, there's no excuses, there's nobody to throw under the bus. I hate the term throw under the bus, but I couldn't think of anything else right there. But there's no other person to blame it on. This is dangerous for Ben in a way. He gets what he wants, absolutely, positively, but he can't blame anybody as easily as he blamed Todd Haley in the past, because this is his guy. It's all on Ben, and there's no more excuses.
Yeah, and I tell you the other thing, it's pretty amazing. Last year, he was talking about maybe retiring. Part of it was, CTE concerns. He wants to be healthy and upright. His wife is really concerned about his health and this and that and the other thing. 12 months later, it's amazing. Todd Haley's gone, and all of that stuff doesn't matter. He's going to play 3 or 4 more years.
Not even that, Paul. It took him 15 minutes after the last game. He walked off the field and said, I want to play.
It's funny. I don't know why anybody listens to what Ben has to say. I mean, he's just he's so ridiculous.
All right, let's talk about a guy you mentioned, Todd Haley. Colin, what does Todd Haley, will he succeed in Cleveland? There's nowhere to go but up.
I already know how this is going to go. You know how this is going to go. He'll have a little bit of success. They'll play well. Maybe they'll win 3 or 4 games. Then he'll do something totally boneheaded off the field, or his wife will do something totally boneheaded off the field, and Todd Haley will run afoul of either the authorities, the front office, or his quarterback that they're going to bring in. Todd Haley always finds a way to submarine himself, to screw it up, to torpedo himself, and he'll do it again in Cleveland.
How far of a walk is it from First Energy Stadium to the Flats?
It's just bound to happen. That's what he does.
It's actually a pretty short walk to the casino from the stadium. There's a lot of trouble to be found there. I will say this. He will organize that offense. He'll structure it. I think, you're right, Colin. It's only a matter of time. But 6 years here, if he can give them 6 years, that's a pretty good thing. They needed to do something because Hugh Jackson was an absolute disaster, trying to be the head coach and call plays and all this other stuff. So I think it's a good move for Cleveland.
Well, DeShone Kizer is not Ben Roethlisberger, or whoever ends up being their quarterback going forward. I'm sure they'll have a different one each of those 6 years that he's there because it's Cleveland. So he may have a limited amount. They may be better than they were this year, but when you're 0-16, there's nowhere to go but up.
All right, we're going to talk about the Pirates, who haven't done much in this offseason. When we come back, what's going on with them? What's going on with Milwaukee? And why can't the Pirates operate like Milwaukee? We'll get into that discussion when we come back. You're watching the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown right here on KDKA-TV. The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran. Go one better. And by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.